Okay, so she's a dog. Here's your look at the Hasbro. This is the Ghostbusters Plasma Series Dana Barrett. Not much to say for Dana. After all, there is no Dana, only Zuul. Before we have a look at the gatekeeper, the first thing we're going to do is figure out how tall Dana Barrett stands. Taking the tape measure right to the very top of a rather large hair, she's going to stop it right there. According to my trusted readout, you're looking at the figure that's standing 5.8 inches in height, and that in centimeters makes Dana Barrett, Zuul, stand at 14.7, a little over 14.5 centimeters tall. Suppose, even though she's not technically part of the Ghostbusters team, we can still bring in a few of the Ghostbusters nonetheless, so you guys can see how she stacks up. Here is Egon Spengler, and of course just before that we brought in Peter Venkman. She's about roughly the same height. You could say maybe with her hair she's just a little bit taller. One constant trend it seems whenever they give us Dana Barrett in all the subsequent Ghostbuster lines, she always ends up dressing like Zuul here. One of these days, just one of these days, I would certainly love to see a jacket-wearing Dana Barrett as she appears in the first appearance where she walks into the Ghostbusters headquarters looking for help. I don't know if that time will ever come, how much the need and desire there is to have multiple Sigourney Weavers from Ghostbusters. But again, always the idea that we go to Dana Barrett with this particular look, this particular dress. One of these days, I certainly would love to see Dana Barrett, not so much Zuul, and more Dana than anything else. Shall we check out the figure's accessories? Yes, I think we shall. The only thing she comes included with is this hanging rack of beef. No, it's actually not that. It is, at least for the time being, the carcass of Vince Clortho, of course, the Terror Dog, that is the build-a-figure for this entire wave. I feel like we want to make some progress. Just simply showing you guys the limbs isn't cutting it. It's not cutting the mustard, at least for me. So we're going to go ahead. I'm just going to start plugging some things in. I want to feel like I'm, like I said, making some progress. So I'm going to take the legs. And I want to make sure I've got these legs properly, the right ones. The ones that only have the single hinge lower down will actually be the ones that go into the back. And we'll just snap that in place. Oh, right there. See, we're already doing something. Doing stuff is good. We're going to take the other leg. This is the other hind leg. And that's going to plug in also to the back of the torso. See, just like that. We're now doing something. I'm going to go ahead and take the leg. This is the front hind leg. I guess that hind leg would be the back. The front leg would plug into the front, just like that. There we go. And last but certainly not least, the other leg. All the legs came with the Ghostbusters. So if you felt you could at least get somewhat of a Terror Dog formed together, you would have to at least get, there we go, you'd have to at least get Zuul, and you'd have to get, of course, Gozer. And that's what it looks like right now. Not more intimidating as it looks more. You feel almost bad for the fact that it's missing a head. Of course, we're going to rectify that when we have a look at Gozer, the Gozerian. So we're just going to move the Terror Dog off camera for the time being. I'll let producer Tony play around with it for the time being. Let's have a look at Dana Barrett, a.k.a. Zuul. Now, ironically enough, this is Dana Barrett as she appears once possessed, of course, by Zuul. One thing that goes along with that is she actually is called technically more so Zuul, but even though the packaging still touts this as saying Barrett, probably should have even just called it Zuul. As it goes, I mean, we certainly have seen, like I said, now 3 versions of Dana Barrett. At the time of doing this review, I couldn't find my Diamond Select, and I never really partook in the Dana Barrett that came from Matty Collector. The one thing about Matty Collectors was at least it did have a platform, and you could remove the top torso piece, allowing Dana Barrett to lay down, kind of like how she appears in the film. The Diamond Select release didn't allow you to do that, nor does the Hasbro release allow you to have her in a laying position. Nor can you really kind of get that funky dance that she does when she gets electrocuted, but just before she turns into a Terror Dog. You can't quite pull that off either. Basically, from the top of the dress, like right where the waist is, from that point down, it's pretty much limiting you what you can actually do with it, but we'll talk about that in a second. First things first, let's have a look at the head sculpt. I'm really actually impressed with the head sculpt. It's a decent likeness, all things considered, of Dana Barrett or Sigourney Weaver. A head sculpt I actually do think is nice. It's missing some elements to it, but overall my takeaway, if I was to take this home in a doggy bag, oh, I see what I did there, doggy bag. She's a terror dog after all. One thing I would take away though is while I do like the fact that she's got the glowing red eyes, there is no Dana, only Zool. The head sculpt's actually quite good as well. It does miss a few elements to it. My big concern is the fact that she doesn't have nearly enough hair. She certainly has enough hair width-wise and height-wise, but she doesn't have nearly enough length-wise. I feel like her hair should be coming down to about here. Certainly based on what I've seen from the film, and seen the film repeatedly, Dana Barrett has much longer hair than this. I don't know why they decided to shorten the hair as much as they did. Maybe it's just so that you could still get the afforded articulation, which unfortunately long hair would sacrifice that completely. But I do feel like it probably should have been about maybe the top or mid area of her back. Probably that's as long as the hair I would have given her. Like I said, the head sculpt is really good. I love the idea of her with glowing red eyes. She does have a few of the darker shading of makeup missing from the figure that she has actually in the film, like the darker shading around the top of her forehead. The areas just to accent the sides of her cheek are all kind of completely omitted here on this figure, but she does have some decent shading right above her eyeballs, just between her eyeballs and her eyebrows. I like the fact also she's been given open mouth just with a slight visible teeth. I don't know if you can actually see it there as well. They actually put dividing lines where the top teeth are separate from the ones below. That's a small touch. Really thrilled for the fact they actually would have even done that. It's a nice overall, like I said, head sculpt. Feeling like getting into picking up these figures, I feel like I really was going to be disappointed with these. And yet, it seems every subsequent figure that I pick up, Dana Barrett being a good example of that. I'm really impressed with actually what they've done. It's not to say the figure is perfect. It has problems, one of which being, again, that long hair that's completely cut. Somebody's cut her hair too short. The dress itself is pretty nicely sculpted. In the film, I mean, if I really was to nitpick this, her dress in the film comes across more like a very glowing neon orange at times than the more darker red that they've kind of given her here. It's not even quite dark red. It's much like an orangey pink color. When we get to the articulation, but I'll mention it right now, when you do lift the torso in any way beyond the point of having it just straight, you sort of see her stomach underneath that with a little paint blob right there. I feel right here they probably should have painted this the same color as her dress so that you didn't run the risk of when you are moving her torso, you are now seeing exposed midriff. And unfortunately that figure does have that. One of the other things with this particular figure is that they have sculpted the hands as, of course, obviously the same color of plastic as her forearms. But the forearms, I feel, are way too thick. It's difficult. This is really a hard thing with action figures because, of course, it has to accommodate a peg. That peg has to sit into the forearm. You have to make, of course, the forearm large enough to fit that peg. The trade-off, unfortunately, in this case is sort of it looks like she has flesh-colored sleeves. Despite that, moving a little bit further down, of course, the dress is split in the middle or split off to the side. And, of course, it's cut down the shoulder where it drapes down. She does have, of course, feet. The feet themselves are, action figure feet. You're not going to be winning medals or awards for best feet in figures, but they're decent enough. They seem a little on the small side, but I guess per the proportions of the rest of the figure, they kind of just come across like little chubby baby feet with a longer, further out heel on the front and not nearly enough longer toes. I wonder if it's just because the feet are so thick up here that they're not slender. Like if they were like this, I think they would look a little bit more realistic. They just kind of look like they're big, chubby baby feet. I'm going to leave that with you guys. Big, chubby baby feet. She does have peg holes on the undersides of those chubby baby feet. Say that 10 times fast. And then, of course, she has a little sash. So there's a few little elements there that add on to the figure's overall appeal. I like the texturing and the sculpt that they put to it, giving it natural wrinkles on the areas on the front where, of course, the belt would tighten this up and you'd have wrinkles forming along the bottom and wrinkles forming along the top of her dress where, again, it's been pinched by this sash. The sleeves are done decently, again, if you look at the back of the figure. I like the coloring, though, again, the dress isn't the most movie accurate. I feel like it probably could have had a little bit more orange tint to it. But overall, it's not that bad of a figure when it's all said and done. I mean, all the things I'm pointing out are things if I really wanted to be a stickler for details. Yes, of course, I could point out the fact that her hair isn't long enough. Yes, I could point out the fact that she has little chubby baby feet. And the fact that she has flesh sleeves. But overall, like, the majority of the figure, rather successful. You can kind of overlook the fact that there's all these little small little things that are wrong. At the end of the day, really, it's an action figure. These are intended for adult collectors and they're intended for kids. If you want super detailed figures that look exactly like their movie counterparts, you're not going to generally find it from a figure that's $12 to $20. I don't feel sometimes people get too harsh on figures. And really, again, all the things I mentioned is really more just out of jest and fun than anything else. Chubby baby feet, for example. For the articulation on Dana Barrett, her head rotates all the way around. And again, because they've kept the hair so short, instead of being down here, you get much more of the range of motion that you normally would not have expected to get with a figure like this. Head moves up and down, you can also tilt it back and forth, and she does also have that midriff torso ball joint. Unfortunately, again, you're going to see a little bit of the flesh visible underneath that. I feel, if anything, if my biggest problem with the figure, they probably just should have painted that. So at the very least, if you are rotating the figure, you're not going to be constantly seeing all the visible torso underneath that. The arms hinge out, still at the 90-degree angle bend, and despite the fact that her arms are sort of inside the sleeves of her dress, you still get the full bend happening in the elbow. Not the double hinge that the other Ghostbusters would have, but at the very least, you at least get a single hinge. And the arms do still move. There are no limitations there. The hands also rotate all the way around. You can hinge them back and forth. And then when we get to the legs are a little bit more, of course, limited, just by the fact that she does have so much of this additional plastic over top of it. It's soft plastic, but not soft enough that you have as much of a range of motion as perhaps you would. I guess the hard part would be, for a figure like this, unless they had given her a dress made out of material where, yes, you would be able to get the legs to bend. They obviously wanted to go the route of plastic, and plastic only has so much give to it, as soft as this plastic is. It still does limit, of course, what you can actually do with the legs. She does have the double hinges on the knees and down to her chubby baby feet. Saying it only out of jest, of course. She does have the hinge up and down, and you can rock those feet back and forth. Of all the Dana Barretts that we have gotten over the years, I do feel like this is definitely one of the better ones. When it's all said and done, of course, it seems like for every Ghostbuster line, we get, of course, the traditional Ghostbuster lads, and then we always seem to get a Dana Barrett. We always seem to get a Louis Tully, although Dana Barrett seems to make more appearances than actually Louis Tully seems to get. And then, of course, we always get ourselves a Gozer, which would happen to be the other figure that we're going to be looking at in the next upcoming review. As it goes for Dana Barrett, even though technically she's called Zool by this point, or the Gatekeeper, she is a decent-looking Dana Barrett. As a side note, though, for one time and one time only, I'd love to see a company actually release Dana Barrett when she doesn't have this dress on. Give her the longer jacket or give her the workout outfit when she gets back to her apartment and she opens up the fridge. But I mean, all those things I think are, things that maybe down the road Hasbro could think to release. I don't know if there's a big desire or demand to get any other Dana Barrett than, of course, the one that you generally think of when you think of Dana Barrett. But it certainly would be nice to get more Dana Barretts simply than just the one that we always get wearing this particular dress. Breaking away from displaying Dana Barrett simply standing up because that gets tiresome after a while, I decided to mix it up a bit. Bring in a display stand I had kicking around so I at least have her levitating. Would have been nice to see that Hasbro could have included a bed so you could have the figure hovering over top of it, but I understand, yes, that they didn't want to invest too much in a release of Dana Barrett, short of just giving us the figure. The idea of giving us a bed is much unnecessary additional plastic, and we already have so much of the plastic with the body of the Terror Dog, they're obviously not going to throw other things in there either, so I'll just kind of makeshift it for the time being. Dana Barrett's a nice looking figure. I mean, she has pretty much the same outfit with every single figure release, although Diamond Select, I feel like I remember that figure having a more gold-colored dress. They didn't quite capture the color perfectly. This dress is close in color, although it feels a little like it needs a little bit more orange, I think, incorporated into it. The head sculpt is good. The hair is a little too short for my liking, but I can understand why they kept it so short, so you can actually move the head all around. While I do love this as Dana Barrett, and usually when I think Dana Barrett, I think of this outfit, so it makes logical sense, I would definitely love to see more Dana Barretts released. Is there even an interest and a desire to have more Danas, or am I really the only one that's thinking that? Maybe the outfit that she wears when she sees Peter in the park, and Peter, of course, comes back with the results of her apartment, that would be a nice outfit to give her. She's had a lot of other outfits as well, but of course, when everybody thinks Dana Barrett, they tend to think of this specific outfit. So of course, the logical reasoning for Hasbro releasing her in this outfit, it does make some sense there. What do you guys think of the figure? Let me know down below in the comments section. Not a bad looking likeness when it's all said and done of Sigourney Weaver. It might be very well one of the best Dana Barrett's head sculpts that we've actually gotten in a figure. But let me know down below in the comments section what you guys think of it. Also, if you are new to this channel, would you consider hitting that subscribe button down below and turning the bell notification on? And certainly stay tuned, because we're going to have the look of Gozer. Gozer is going to be coming up in the next review. And of course, there's going to be a whole bunch of other stuff coming your way as well. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time.